Why do we fall? That question alone holds the weight of our struggles, our disappointments, our failures, and our pain. It echoes in the back of our minds when things don't go right. It shows up in the silence after defeat. It's there in the tear that falls quietly when no one else is watching. We ask ourselves, why me? Why now? Why this? But we don't fall because we're cursed or weak or forgotten. We fall because life was never meant to be easy. It was meant to be real, and real means ups and downs, real means growth, real means change. Falling is the test before the testimony. It's the fire before the refinement. It's the hard moment before the breakthrough. You fall because that's where the lesson is. You fall because that's how character is carved. You fall because there are some things about life, about love, about leadership, about purpose, about strength, that you simply cannot learn unless you've been broken, bruised, or brought low. See, we live in a world obsessed with success, with winning, with perfection. We're taught to showcase our highlight reels and hide our wounds, but life doesn't work like that. Life doesn't care about your filters or your followers. Life hits hard. Life doesn't ask for permission before knocking you down, and when it does, you realize real quick that success isn't about never falling. It's about never staying down. That's the difference. That's what separates those who make it from those who fade away. Falling strips away the illusions. It reveals the truth. When you're down, when you've lost something or someone, when your back is against the wall, the mask comes off. You get to meet the version of you that doesn't pretend. The version of you that doesn't care about applause. The version of you that either breaks or bends, that either folds or fights. And it's in that moment, the moment of pain, of emptiness, of silence, that you learn the most powerful lessons of your life. Why do we fall? We fall so we can wake up, so we can slow down, so we can pay attention. Because sometimes the fall is the only thing that can get your attention. You've been running, chasing, striving, and suddenly you hit the ground, and now, in the quiet, you hear things you couldn't hear when everything was loud. You notice things about yourself, about others, about your journey that you were too distracted to see. The fall clarifies, it purifies, it brings focus. You fall because comfort is a trap. Comfort can fool you into thinking you're growing when you're just standing still. It makes you settle for less, accept mediocrity, ignore your potential, but the fall shakes you. It forces you to confront the truth. It pulls you out of the fog. It shows you what matters, and in that truth, there is freedom. It hurts, but it heals. It's heavy, but it's holy. You fall to learn resilience. You don't get stronger by lifting light weights. You get stronger by being under pressure. The same way a diamond is formed by heat and pressure, so is your destiny. And you can't shortcut that process. You have to go through the storm. You have to walk through the fire. You have to feel the weight of it. That's what builds muscle. Not just physical, but mental, emotional, spiritual. Falling humbles you. It brings you to your knees, not to destroy you, but to teach you that you're not invincible, and that's not weakness, that's wisdom. Knowing you're not perfect keeps you grounded. It opens your heart. It makes you more compassionate, more grateful, more aware of the people who stood with you when everything fell apart. Falling helps you appreciate the ones who didn't walk away, who didn't give up on you, who saw something in you even when you couldn't see it in yourself. Falling teaches you patience, because sometimes the recovery takes longer than you expected. Sometimes the journey back is slow, painfully slow, but there's beauty in the slow process. There's depth in the waiting. You discover that progress isn't always loud or fast. Sometimes it's just showing up when you don't feel like it. Sometimes it's putting one foot in front of the other when your heart is heavy and your vision is blurry. But you do it anyway. That's where real growth happens, in the shadows, in the silence, in the slow grind that no one else sees. You fall to become battle-tested, and if you've never been in a fight, then you don't know what kind of fighter you are. It's easy to be confident when things are good. It's easy to smile when the sun is shining. But what happens when everything falls apart, when the doors close, when the people leave? That's the moment that defines you. That's when your true character steps forward. Falling is not failure. Let me say that again. Falling is not failure. Failure is when you refuse to get back up. Failure is when you let the fall define you instead of refine you. The fall doesn't mean you're not enough. It means you're in training, you're being equipped, you're being stretched, you're being tested, because greatness is not given, it's earned, and it's earned in the fall. Every champion has a scar. Every warrior has a story. Every legend has a chapter they don't post on social media. The nights they cried, the times they wanted to quit, the days they felt forgotten, but they didn't stop. They didn't settle. They kept moving. That's the difference. And maybe right now you're in that space. You're in the middle of a fall. Maybe life hit you in a way you didn't see coming. Maybe the job didn't work out. Maybe the relationship ended. Maybe you made a mistake you can't take back. Maybe you're looking at your life and wondering how things got so far off course. But hear me. This isn't the end. This isn't the final chapter. This is the moment before the rise. You're not alone. You're not broken beyond repair. You're not finished. You're in transition. You're in transformation. The fall is part of the process. It's not a detour. It's the design. And if you can endure this, if you can trust the process, if you can refuse to give up even when every voice says you should, you'll rise with a power that cannot be faked. Because when you rise after a fall, you rise with fire. You rise with clarity. You rise with wisdom that only comes from the journey. You rise not just to prove something to others, but to prove something to yourself. That you're not a victim, you're a victor. That you're not your past, you're your purpose. That your fall didn't finish you. It freed you. So don't be afraid to fall. Be afraid of never trying. Be afraid of living a life so safe, so small, so tame, that you never discover what you're really made of. Because strength isn't developed in success, it's discovered in the struggle. And sometimes it takes hitting the ground to finally realize you have wings. You don't fall because you're weak. You fall because you're alive. And life isn't about avoiding pain, it's about overcoming it. It's about becoming the kind of person who doesn't just survive the fall, but rises stronger because of it. So if you've fallen, breathe, pause, then rise, because this isn't the end of your story. It's just the chapter where the hero starts to become who they were always meant to be. You fell, yes, but you're not finished. And the truth is, that fall you experienced, the one that shook your confidence, the one that had you questioning everything about yourself, that wasn't a breakdown. It was a setup for a breakthrough. Because every great story has a moment where the hero is on the ground. Every success has a struggle behind it. Every winner has a wound. You don't rise because you avoided the fall. You rise because you went through it and refused to let it define you. The power in falling isn't in what was lost, it's in what was discovered. You learn things in that place that you would have never seen if life had only ever gone your way. You see who really loves you. You find out what really matters. You understand what you were holding onto that was actually holding you back. That's why falling is necessary. It's not the enemy, it's the teacher. It doesn't always feel like a lesson, though. Sometimes it feels like betrayal or shame or rock bottom, but it's only in those moments when everything is stripped away that you realize what you truly have left, and sometimes what you have left is more than enough. You start seeing that your value doesn't come from your job title or your bank account or your reputation. It comes from the fact that you're still here, still trying, still fighting, still believing in something more. And that alone, that fire inside you that refuses to go out, that's worth everything. That's the foundation you rise from, not from the approval of others, but from the truth that's been carved into your soul by every hard day, every sleepless night, every tear that's hit the floor. That truth says, I may be down, but I'm not defeated. I may be delayed, but I'm not denied. I may have fallen, but I'm still in the fight. Falling also teaches you grace, not just for others, but for yourself. Because, if we're honest, the hardest person to forgive is usually the one staring back at us in the mirror. We beat ourselves up over every wrong move, every missed opportunity, every time we should have known better. But growth doesn't come from punishing yourself. It comes from learning and letting go. You can't rise while carrying the weight of yesterday's guilt. You have to give yourself permission to move forward, to stop living in regret, to stop replaying old failures. You are not what you did. You are what you choose to do now. Sometimes the fall lasts longer than you thought it would. Sometimes the climb back takes years. But it doesn't matter how long it takes. What matters is that you keep moving. Progress isn't always big and bold. Sometimes it's just showing up. Sometimes it's just getting out of bed when your heart feels heavy. Sometimes it's just deciding to try again. And that's enough. That's strength. Real strength. Not the kind that shows up in the spotlight, but the kind that survives the silence. Why do we fall? So we can rebuild with better materials. So we can stop building castles out of sand and start laying bricks of truth, of purpose, of integrity. You see, the version of you that fell isn't the version that's going to rise. You're going to rise with new eyes. You're going to rise with wisdom. You're going to rise with experience. You're going to rise with battle scars that prove you've been through something and still chose to keep going. You're going to realize that people may walk out on you, opportunities may slip through your fingers, and doors may close, but that doesn't stop your calling. The fall may change your direction, but it doesn't change your destiny. Your purpose is not fragile. It's not dependent on everything going right. It's built for storms. It's built to withstand setbacks. It's built for the long haul. Every time you fall and choose to get back up, you're rewriting the story. You're showing yourself that you don't have to be perfect to be powerful. You don't have to have all the answers to keep moving. You don't have to wait for a green light to start healing. You can start right here, right now, just as you are. Because healing isn't a moment, it's a decision. Rising isn't a destination, it's a mindset. The world will try to define you by your fall. It will try to reduce you to the moment when things went wrong. But you get to choose who you become after that moment. You get to decide whether the pain will bury you or build you. You get to write the next chapter, not based on the past, but based on the vision of who you're becoming. There's something about rising that changes everything. You don't look at problems the same. You don't react to haters the same. You don't get distracted by noise, because once you've been to the bottom and come back, you realize what's real. You realize that peace is more valuable than attention, that integrity is more important than popularity, that growth is more powerful than applause. The truth is, there will be more falls. This life doesn't promise smooth roads or perfect plans. But now you know what to do with them. You've been through the fire, you've felt the sting of failure, and you're still here, stronger, smarter, hungrier. So when the next fall comes, you won't panic. You won't collapse. You'll remember who you are. You'll remember what you've already survived, and you'll rise again. You'll stop being afraid of falling because you've already seen that it didn't destroy you. It refined you, it prepared you, it introduced you to the strongest version of yourself, and that version doesn't quit, that version doesn't settle, that version doesn't back down just because things get hard. And the more you rise, the more others will start to notice. They'll see the way you carry yourself, the quiet strength, the resilience, the wisdom in your eyes. They'll wonder how you do it, how you stay so grounded, how you keep going after so many setbacks, and you'll tell them the truth. It's because you fell. It's because you hit the ground and didn't let it hold you. It's because you stopped being afraid of failure and started using it as fuel. You'll look back at the moments that once broke your heart and realize they built your character. You'll remember the nights you cried and see how they watered the seeds of your future. You'll understand that the fall wasn't meant to destroy you. It was meant to deliver you into a new season of strength. And maybe, just maybe, you'll start to be grateful for the fall, not because it was easy, not because it didn't hurt, but because of who you became because of it, because of what you discovered inside yourself, because of the fire it lit that never went out. So if you've fallen, don't waste the moment. Don't rush the process, sit in it, learn from it, grow through it, and then rise, not to prove anything to anyone else, but to honor the fight in you, to honor the story you're writing, to honor the fact that life may knock you down, but it can never keep you there unless you let it. You rise because you believe in something bigger. You rise because you know there's more. You rise because the future still has room for you. And every time you rise with greater purpose, greater fire, greater vision. Because the fall isn't the end, it's the place where greatness begins. You fell, yes, but you didn't stay there. You rose, not because it was easy, not because it didn't hurt, but because something deep inside you refused to let the fall be the final chapter. That's the power within you, the fire that failure couldn't extinguish, the strength that struggle couldn't silence. You learned that the fall wasn't the enemy, it was the invitation. The breaking wasn't the burial, it was the beginning. And now, every scar on your soul, every tear you've cried, every setback you've survived, it all speaks one truth. You are not done. You are not defeated. You are not broken. You are rising again and again. And again, because the fall may have tested you, but it could never cancel the greatness inside of you. So stand tall, walk forward, and let the world witness what happens when a warrior chooses to rise every single time they fall.